That 30-yard pile of compost is almost gone. We bought this 3 years ago. It was $20 a yard, and he brought 30 yards in a semi. Our blackberry row that we started 2 years ago now this year is looking really nice. It's all pruned up and really pretty. These are triple crown blackberries. I just planted a whole row of Goliath. Oh, that's a grape tomato, but the first one is a grape tomato, but all the rest of them, 22 plants, are Goliath, and they're 1 pound slicer tomatoes. This row we pulled the grass out. This was a pasture grass or something in there, and it's just horrible. We couldn't keep up. So we took the raspberries and the grass out and left a half a row back there where the grass wasn't so bad. Those are our Titan raspberries. The row right next door here used to be Canby thornless raspberries. We took those out because we have too many raspberries. And we planted a row of peas. These are red potatoes here. A row of peas that will be trellised up on the strings. This is a row of white potatoes. 3 new rows of Seascape raspberries, or strawberries, I mean. These old ones are coming out. People come get them, or I'll take them over to the African gardeners. A whole row of cucumbers this year. Last year we did peas at the end. We're doing pickles this year, so the whole back third, or almost a half, is pickling cucumbers, and the rest are slicers that can also be used for pickles. This row is canna lilies, the red canna lilies. It's kind of a tropical plant with a red flower on top. And then over at the nursery a couple of days ago, I bought some of these that have the yellow flowers on top. And I also bought one orange calla lily, which will be fun to propagate. Okay, so those haven't come up because we just planted them 3 days ago. There's a lot of canna lily roots there. The lady was very nice to let us have some of hers. She lives pretty close. Then our Polana raspberries are all nicely pruned. There was a little bit of winter kill up front here. Same with the autumn Britain, a little bit of winter kill through these. And a lot of winter kill in the Willamettes back there at the end of the autumn Britain raspberries. This row between these 2 raspberries will be a paste tomato row. And I started with 2 Amish paste tomatoes, the big, huge tomatoes, and then we have a dozen or more La Romas, which are a larger paste tomato than Roma, but smaller than Amish paste. I've got the drip tape up underneath. This drip tape here it ends right here and hooks onto the valve at the other end, and it's not running yet, but this one is. You can see it dripping. See how they're dripping? Drip, drip, drip. They drip every 8 inches on about 10 pounds pressure. Then we laid the plastic. This 48-inch plastic mulch is greenhouse style plastic, so it doesn't rot in the sun. And then we plant. I just pull a hole right next to the drip line every 30 inches and plant tomatoes, and we'll stake those up and tie them so they don't fall over onto the stake. And then after we get them staked, then we'll put the big cages up. And they're 21-inch cages, concrete mesh, 6-inch concrete mesh cages, and 5 feet tall. Next to the autumn Britain raspberries, we have some Primark Freedom. Primark Freedom are primocane or ever-bearing blackberries. Primark Freedom. Then we'll plant some vegetables, seeds in here, carrots, onions, things like that. And we have some Concords. They're just budding, and actually they budded out a week ago, but we had a 26-degree frost and those froze, and now we have new buds coming out all down the row. They look really good. This is a row of bush beans. 60-foot row of bush beans will keep us busy. This row is Himbo Top Red Raspberry, which we planted 3 years ago. Last year it produced a crop, but this year it will produce a full crop. You can see up front how being more open to the front of the row, we got a little bit of winter kill on these too. It was a pretty harsh winter. Then there's nothing planted between these raspberries and the Suffolk red grapes yet. We haven't decided if we want to do that, but if I do something, I might put broccoli or something there that can come out earlier in the season, and then we'll have the room to walk between the two rows. We've put peas here before. Up front, we've prepped a row, looks like 2 rows for plastic for Jim. Jim's rebuilding his concert grand Baldwin piano in the shop, and would like to learn how to do this, so he's going to do a couple of rows of strawberries, maybe some melons, and he prepped this side for corn and other items. He's got 3 rows of corn, actually 2 double rows of corn. They experimented and planted a foot apart here, a foot apart there, and a foot apart there, and the whole thing is 30 inches or more apart. And this 3rd row is just a single row of corn, and they're going to see if it works to try to plant them so close together. These raspberries are Himbo Top. The next ones are Joan Jay, and this set is coming out to make room for my pumpkins and squash. I have lots of raspberries. We have another property that has 300-foot rows of raspberries too, if I want to manage them. And this is a row or a little patch of jewel black raspberries. This is the first time we've cleaned them up this much since we planted these. I have a row right here on a string, a short string. You can see the string comes to this little guy and stops for those, and those are just tied to a post. But this row back there, and then the center row, I'm not quite done back there. This first row is done. You can see how we can walk both sides of it now. It's really nice. And it should produce so much better berries now that they're thinned out. I just got three, maybe 4 canes coming out of each plant up into the trellis. That way the berries should be a lot larger size. And the canes are cut back to 6 feet. This section where the peach trees were hasn't been only tended. You know, we till it every year, till it up, but I haven't taken time to plant. And there's a section behind the back shop that we planted broccoli in last year. It had some nothing, 2 years ago is what I meant. It had nothing in it last year because we had no time. Our piano business was way too busy last year. This grows broccoli great. It also grows Swiss chard. It grows raspberries really nicely. Now there's some Bristol blackberries, black raspberries at the back, but we're going to take everything out and prep this to do something, more useful, since I have enough of the black raspberries. You can see a pile of tiller parts here. That's really a pile. And then this one's just got parts removed. The tines are removed, the engine's removed, parts are being taken off of it. Looks like the right tire has been used. But this was our original. And then we took all those parts this year and made this one with a new engine, a new 6.5 horse engine. So it runs really nicely. And it doesn't leak hardly anywhere, I don't think. To begin with, we had made this one. This one has a PTO. Let's see, yes, this is PTO style, so this can be removed. You can put a different unit on there. And it runs great. Then we have 2 tillers that I can get them to work, but I don't know the belt configuration well enough, and since I don't need the tiller so much, I just bought a new carburetor for that and got it to work just fine. But of course we need to go through and make sure everything runs on this coast to coast, and the coast to coast tiller is belt driven, is the same exact tiller as this Craftsman over here. This still has its belt shroud, little different engine, but the tiller is exactly the same other than that. This big Troy built was missing its worm gear when we got it. Up inside there's no gear and there's no housing for it, but that's a monster, and we took the big weights off the wheels so I could get to the parts. You see how it has weights on it. Then we have a smaller tiller. I put a new engine on, but I borrowed parts from a different tiller here to tighten the belt, and it needs a metric bolt there, and I still need to do that and figure out what size belt. And then that little front tine tiller will work great. 2 weeks ago, someone gave us this. The engine sputters a little bit, but this is a Tecumseh double shaft, geared shaft with a reverse shaft and a forward shaft, and it still runs really good. I've been tilling with it. I thought it ran pretty good, and they just gave it to us. After it runs for a while, the engine acts like it overheats. Something's not quite designed right there. Needs a little bit of adjustment. We just brought home six 5-gallon jugs of non-ethanol, so this is clear gas or pure gasoline, just in case we need extra gas. The markets are looking strange right now. This little patch of blackberries makes 50 pounds every year, and we keep pruning it. It's looking pretty good. The greenhouse is almost empty since we're planting everything today. This is Jim's. These are Jim's plants. These are some plants our African friend had in his car that he's not quite ready to use. So I said, put them in the greenhouse, we'll water them for you. And then our fish emulsion fertilizer is mixed from this jug. And we have lots and lots of blackberries. A week ago when the frost hit, we had a huge hailstorm and it killed our geraniums. These are red geraniums from the backyard. So I brought them in, and I can get them to grow again. I don't think it killed the root. I cut them way back, and they're starting to leaf out already. Then we have almost 100 blackberries in here. These are triple crown blackberries, and they're starting to grow. You see how they're leafing out, and underneath there will be little tiny roots up here in the soil. Let's see if I can find one. I found one yesterday. It had little roots on it, but they're not. We just planted these just over a week ago, so they shouldn't be rooting very quickly. I was surprised that some had little 1 and 2 inch roots hanging out of the buds underneath, and that's what we want to see. And then all of these will start to grow, just like that. They'll just start to leaf out, and underneath will start to root out on those buds under the soil. And these will all be prepared for sale. Planting somewhere. The apple trees just finished blooming. Both apple trees were just loaded with blossoms. Our peach tree back here was the very first thing to bloom this year with the pear trees. All these are jewel black raspberries except this little patch of prelude raspberries right here. The jewel black raspberries are beginning to blossom. Our pear trees look great, these little pear trees. And this big cherry tree, we haven't pruned at all yet. Don't know if I'll get to that this year. It does need pruning. And I went and got a couple of new geraniums, and then you can see one of the old ones here, two of the new ones. I'm sure these will come back. I just cleaned them up after that huge hailstorm we had with the frost. New ones and the original one here. And we have our, what are those called? Yeah, well, we only have one. I can't remember the name of it. As I came around the front of the house, I remembered that plant back there being bleeding heart. Okay, so these are salmon-colored geraniums, and we're just getting them planted. Our rose bush, the front. These were out in the hailstorm, but they didn't get damaged as much, and so we're going to leave them. We planted some between the Stella de Oro daylilies. See if they'll grow fast enough to keep up to the lilies and not get shaded out too much. They should do just fine. And take over that front section where it's so warm up here. These geraniums will look really nice. Our birch trees have always done really nice. These are a weeping birch, and they're really pretty. We haven't seen any quail in our yard this year. Might be because we've been out there quite a bit. We have 2 ducks that are nesting in the backyard somewhere though. Grass is starting to look really nice. And it feels like summer is almost here. These 32 solar panels we bought last April still haven't been installed. We don't know what we're doing, first of all. And rather than pay somebody else to do it, we just haven't taken time to figure it out. All right, back to planting. We have a table full of items here, some peppers and our 3 artichokes, the rest of the tomatoes, some broccoli, some onion starch, some onion, I've got onions, what are these called, sets, and some okra seed here we're going to plant, and a lot of carrot seeds and all the different types of seeds in the garden rack in the shop there we'll start planting, and I'll get back to work.